Welcome back, everybody. It is Wins Above Fantasy, episode 213, Thursday, May 14th, as this comes out. And tonight we are talking buy lows on this Wednesday, Steve. And I know it's high time for this, especially for those of us who need a little shakeup, whether you're high up in the standings, you can afford to wait, or if the timing is right for you to make a surge with some of these guys. It's definitely deep enough into the season, as you and I were talking offline, Steve, where managers are frustrated, they're ready to jump ship. In certain leagues, you're going to see some drops of some household names. So we're going to look at about a half dozen names for tried and true guys who are off to slow starts for one reason or another. Dive under the hood as we do and talk about what we think for the outlook here. So very excited to be back, Steve. I know it's been kind of a checkered season in terms of the Iron Man show that we usually are, but it's good to be back talking baseball. I know we were chatting, but I had a loss in the family. It was actually a home league member, so RIP Uncle Chris, great 25-year member of the league. It's always hard losing anybody, but that's why I was out last week. But it feels therapeutic to be talking fantasy, and great to be back on the show with you, man. How's it going?
Good man. Yeah, I just want to pass along my condolences to you guys, your family, your league. Can't imagine it's tough, and hope this could be, the tiniest little homage, and what better way to honor than talking about the thing in this game that brought you guys even closer together. So,
Yeah, yeah.
condolences to you guys, and shout out everyone in your guys' league. That's definitely not easy.
Thanks, man. And yeah, I know we probably what was the Thanksgiving episode, maybe year before last, where we talked
Yeah.
about what we're thankful for fantasy. And you're right, man. Like life is life, and without getting into it too deep on this show, I think a lot of our listeners can probably relate that beautiful part about this game is, in a way, it is always a vehicle that kind of brings you together as like a group. Hopefully, you guys have a league that you got connections with, but it is special that it can take you through good times, bad times. It's kind of the constant, and it's one of the many reasons why we love the game. But I appreciate it, Steve. Segueing, no easy segue, but getting into the show topic on buy lows, Steve. I know I was kind of jabbing at you because you're down in the dumps on the home league, and it's got to be a little bit of a tough show for you because I know, not to just pour salt in the wound, but I'm sitting in a solid playoff spot. I got a cushion, so I feel like this show's great when you're up in the standings and can say like, "Oh, I'll wait for somebody to
Mhm.
come around." Do you think that this topic applies to the entire, no matter where you're at in the league standings, or do you think it's a lot harder if you're looking for kinda instant production?
For me, yeah. And personally, this year, this has been the worst 6 week stretch that I've ever had in my main home league. It is
Ouch.
like I have my team has a 500 OPS every night. Like I can't even get a six. Um, and
Just
I,
Murphy's
I've
Law.
I've I've
Yeah.
complained on this show in April, and tried not to, but who can't do that, or who has the willpower not to do that? And I tried to preach of how the seasons are full of up and downs, but when you have entire teams of guys that could be on this list, which is what my team feels like, it is very frustrating. And that being said,
That's rough.
I tend to maybe overreact. I think I sent you a list of the like 6 trades that I've made in the last 2 weeks of just completely rehauling my roster,
Very
but
impressive, by the way, just
a lot of
working
that
deals.
a lot of that was targeting these guys. Uh, you know, the last thing that my team that's last in the league in OPS needs is Fernando Tatis and his 0 home runs, but, I like
Get rich or die
it's the
trying.
ultimate, yeah, it's the ultimate test of believing in my process where, like, even though these last 6 weeks in my home league have made me feel like I know nothing about this sport, that I have never watched baseball in my life, that I have no idea what I'm doing. That is how I truly feel from dealing with this team and watching, you know, flipping from game to game on the MLB At Bat app and going from ground out to strikeout to ground out to pitcher getting dinked and dunked and giving up 2 more runs.
Uh,
Um, Despite that, I am still trusting this process and, to sort of swing back and get off my complaint horse and swing back into the topic, like there's different things that you could buy low on, right? It's the underlying data that we now have all these amazing tools to look at, track records, right? Like,
mhm.
I believe that Tatis is an adjustment away from having his 11 homer April that he had last year. Uh, like I still think that is going to come. Maybe that makes me look like an idiot in 4 months, and I'll take the L if that's the case. But it's I'm not going to not take swings and like if I'm going to go out in last place this year and not make the playoffs for the first time in 15 years, I'm going to go out swinging. And so yeah, to answer your question to get back to it, like at least me, like I'll probably overcorrect and I've probably done one trade too many to try and get out of it, but if you're in that spot, yeah, like I would take swings for it. If you're in lug in have a luxury, like what better time than to try to buy Tatis from a team that might probably is lower in the standings or whatever struggling hitter we're going to talk about,
Right.
and wait for them to turn around, right? Like we'll get into a guy that you picked up off waivers. Like there's multiple ways to do this, and there's no wrong way I think to do it. As long as you have a process that you believe in. It might be
Yeah.
wrong, but you have to trust that process. And I think we'll lay out a good one here with sort of the the, the metrics that we look at and why we think these guys are good buy lows.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I want to hear from you on a couple of the tools or resources you look at for this. But I think the top kind of general comment, which is the no brainer, but it needs to be said, is that if you looked at the back of the baseball card for 10 of these guys, like maybe one, maybe two will have such a down year that it won't help your team for what their market value is right now, and that's what you have to remember, like, yes, there do there are the stories of, I don't know, like an Ozzy Albies or somebody
Yeah.
who's, like, perennially a top 3 rounder that, kinda randomly early in their career before they're, aging to, like, mid-30s will slip into becoming, like, a regular uh, 7th rounder, 8th rounder or something. But a lot of these guys, you just pretty much chalk up that, okay, maybe it's not going to be like a 30-20 season, but it's still probably going to be like a 25
Uh,
10,
uh,
25
a lot of the
15.
guys that we're going to talk about, unless there's like a major injury, they're going to provide like their worst outcome is still pretty valuable, right? Or
Exactly.
should be.
Yeah, they
Um,
will go on a stretch where
yeah.
it's like, oh, they're back, and you'll look like a genius if you trusted it when there was
That's the
l-
that's the
little
that's the
reason.
hope. That's the
Yeah.
hope.
Okay, well, that's the process, and it's a valid process. So, Steve, talk to me about your process, kind of looking into this. I know there are a couple articles, but give a quick overview before we jump into Fernando Tatis Jr. But let's hear about the reference.
Yeah. So, I think there's a few ways to go about this, right? Like we have Savant, we have all this amazing data. We can look at underlying metrics, who's hitting the ball well and um, you know, doing the process to get good results, but maybe not getting those good results. I'll never forget um in like 2014 or 2015 when I first started getting serious into fantasy baseball. We had Kyle Seager, like one of his third or fourth years in the league, and he was like just coming into form with the Mariners.
Mhm.
And this was like pre-Savant, so I think it was like 2014, maybe even 2013. And my co-manager, shout out Tom, who I first got into serious fantasy baseball with, would watch a lot of the games, and Kyle Seager was off to a horrible start, and he's just like, dude, this guy is crushing the ball. It's just line out after line out. Like, we didn't have the hard hit metrics, but I'm sure he was great and just hitting 180 to start the year. And what do you know? He finished the year like 260 with 30 home runs and like broke out and became a really steady player in
Yeah.
Corey Seager. So like we have that now quantified, and don't just have to guess, and look at the process with our eyes. We can see who's doing that, so that's important. And then one thing that stuck out to me on Rates and Barrels recently, Jared Larry was talking about a few of these struggling players, and he talked about the importance of when you're struggling, and where success comes from, and that comes from the basis of being able to hit the fastball. So I wanted to get some specific about it, and we'll talk about a few guys that are underperforming versus four seam fastball. So they're doing having good process but not getting the good results. So maybe that's a sign of things to come. And then finally, a thing that I've looked at and gotten back into is Robert Orr's leaderboard. We've talked about this on the show before. It's now behind a paywall. I think it's only like $40 for the year. I would highly recommend it. Robert Orr is a baseball prospectus, I think, and he developed the Seager stat, like the selective aggression stat, and has a great leaderboard with a damage per batted ball event metric that it's essentially, a a dynamic blast barrel rate. It's like, okay, if you're doing this and hitting the ball, it's most likely going to end up in it with an extra base hit. So, um, there's some really cool stats there. It's a great place to see 90th percentile max exit velocity, chase rates, hittable pitch take percentage, things that go into Seager, whiff percentage versus velocity whiff percentage versus secondaries, and then there's also cool stuff like takeoff percentage that we'll get into with a few of these guys as far as stolen bases. So like guys who are taking the opportunity to run. So those are just a few of the things that we looked at and that we'll reference here in the show as we get going here.
I love it. Yeah, and I'm excited to hear that. I am not a subscriber there on Robert Orr's prospectus page, so
Yeah,
I'll be
it's a Streamlit app.
okay. Gotcha.
And it's in his Twitter profile. It's I believe, let me pull it up. It's not that Bobby Orr. Let me pull it up because his name is Robert Orr and he's obviously not
Yeah, right,
Bobby
right,
Orr.
right.
It is not
Different
the
legend.
at not the Bobby Orr.
Okay,
So yeah, make sure to check him out. He won the Gladiator in NFBC in 2023. Yeah,
that's right.
he's a
Yeah,
great follow, and I would definitely recommend signing up for that Streamlit app. It is well worth it.
awesome. Well, you mentioned Tatis, Steve, and I think you'll have to let the viewers know kind of what moves you're making. But it has been a strange and definitely disappointing start to the season for Tatis because on one hand, he's pacing for his best stolen base season ever, and on the other hand, he has 0 home runs and a 633 OPS that sounds like, is kinda carrying the torch for your whole offense with the 633. But, yeah, some of the batted ball stuff still looks good at a glance with like a about 12% barrel rate. The hard hit rate is 98th percentile. And a 255 average is it's okay, but obviously with where you're getting Tatis, you were hoping for, first round, second round production. And he is one that has been doing nothing. In fact, worse than nothing against four seamers, where last year it was a 548 slug. This year it's a 200 slug. So I know we'll look at that as a theme. I think it's the old Alex Fast thing that it's like, what did he just stop? Did he just start forgetting how to hit four seamers and in the prime of his career? Like, I doubt it. So I think this one is definitely a good buy low. I know in the great article from Eno Saris and the Athletic last week, he had kind of broken down ever so slight batting stance
Mhm.
adjustments from last year to this year for Tatis, and clearly not doing what you'd hope for, especially when it comes to some of like the pull homers, pull fly balls, all that good stuff. But talk to me about Tatis, your outlook here, and what makes you think this is a strong buy low.
Yeah, this is track record and mental. Like as someone that is just a fan of Fernando Tatis, has watched a bunch of them. He does not look like the confident player that we even saw in like the World Baseball Classic a few weeks ago. Um, there are those. He's a tinkerer, right? He had that amazing April, like ditched a leg kick, and it's kind of been meh power wise since then, right? If he had 11 home runs, I think in March and April last year, finished with like 25. So even just going back, like essentially for a season, he has 14 home runs. Like it's probably close to 14 home runs over the last 162 for him. So that's concerning. That being said, I think this really is just maybe one more tweak away. There's still a lot under the hood that is good. The hard hit, the max exit velocity, the bat speed's still there. The damage per batted ball event, that Robert Orr metric, is actually up this year. It's just that there hasn't really been any pull fly balls. It's crazy. Um, there is some more swing and miss than last year, and that's kind of what the whole point of him changing that swing last year was to get rid of more swing and miss and become like a more complete hitter. You got to think that that's going to change soon. And there's going to be an approach change soon, and I think when it does come, it'll come in bunches. Call me crazy, but I still think like he could probably get close to 25, 30 homers, despite having zero through March 13th.
Yeah.
That would take a heater among heaters, but we've seen plenty of them. And you know, I know that there's been some work of him and Manny Machado out early, getting extra work in, and Steven Souza, their hitting coach, has been talking to the media about it. Nick Castellanos hit a home run with his bat and then defended him to the media, like right, like everyone and their mother is trying to fix Fernando Tatis Jr. I think, and I'm betting that Fernando Tatis Jr. will fix Fernando Tatis Jr. sooner rather than later.
Mhm.
Though, it's been a bit. If you take out that hot April that he had last year. So we'll see. I'm betting on the track record and the raw talent that still is obviously there. And you can't teach a 60% hard hit rate. You can maybe do a tweak that allows him to lift the ball and pull the ball and get the most out of that raw power.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's still smack in the middle of his prime. All the physical traits look great. It's results based. I mean, he kind of bookended last year. He had 7 homers in April, and then he did
Yeah.
have 7 in September, which
Okay.
is nice. But if you go all the way to like 2019 rookie season and on through the years, he has never finished 1 month not named October with 0 homers,
Yeah.
and,
And he just
he
did it.
did in April, and we're
Halfway
about
through
midway
May, and he's
through May,
about to
so
do that as well. Yeah.
it's bizarre, but also, yeah, I mean, I'm with you that I think it'll come in bunches. I think the other factor that we always talk about is, like, bats heat up with the weather, and, on top of that, it's like the Padres have they haven't been like one of those collective, like, Red Sox dumpster fires. I mean, I think once it clicks, I would not be surprised if, they come in bunches. I think 20 to 25 homers is not outside of the realm. I would be pretty surprised at this point if it was 30. That would be about to, like,
Yeah.
peak prime
Yeah.
Tatis,
Yeah.
which we had a little bit of questions about, like, what are you gonna get from him? It's gonna be productive. And, I mean, it does seem, I guess the silver lining is he's probably in that spot where, oh, who's a player like that tries to compensate on, like, the base paths when they're not, getting it
The
done,
guy
but
we're gonna talk about next.
there we go. That's our
There you
planned
go.
segue. It's Gunnar Henderson, who yeah, it's exactly who I was thinking of, that basically when the power dropped off last year, we saw 17 homers, but 30 steals, and that was with a 274 average, 787 OPS. Very popular bounce back pick. If you remember in March, he was one of the fastest risers on the ADP boards. Everyone is kind of saying, Gunner's gonna Gunner. And so far it's been a weird mixed bag where he's had the pop of 9 home runs, but hitting just 197, 5 steals in there as well. So it looks good. It just looks like Luis Robert of old or something. So it's like, what do we make of Gunnar Henderson here? Unlike Tatis Jr., his underlying metrics look like quite a notch down from what he's always done. The bat speed has dropped a pretty important 1 mile per hour, and then everything has kind of followed suit, whether it's like the barrel rate, which is now at around league average. I guess that was low the year before, but back in 2024 when it was the breakout, he was a guy that you could count on to be above average on hard hit and barrel and all that good stuff. And now it's starting to look a little scary under the hood, but still just 24 years old. Thoughts on the case for a Gunnar bounce back here, Steve, mainly on the hit tool, it seems.
Yeah, I was watching some of the Orioles broadcast today, and they mentioned how Gunnar Henderson was, battling through an oblique that he came back from quickly last year. Remember, he got that in spring training. I think only missed like the first week. Then he hurt his shoulder diving, I believe, in the field, and that impacted him pretty greatly last year, at least in the power department. Everything else was pretty much in line. It was just, a 438 slug is low for him, and only 17 homers after the 37 last year. So I think he came in with the mindset that, he wanted to hit more homers and has maybe gone a little bit too far that the other way, is essentially the narrative that the broadcast was pushing. I think there was some of Gunner's feedback in that, and
Mhm.
talking with them in the broadcast and the color announcer, color commentators, knowing that, um, so it's not just anecdotally, there is a conscious approach, there that he's trying to correct and needs to find that balance between, swinging for the fences, which is great. The 9 home runs, the 5 steals is great, but there's clearly something missing. That being said, Gunnar Henderson has made 11 outs on pulled fly balls or line drives hit over 95 miles an hour. That is the most in the league. So, we could talk about Tatis being super unlucky, and he is the second most unlucky player by, all the expected stats. The expected stats don't take into account hit direction, whether you pull it or
Mm.
hit the ball on the ground. So, Tatis's 49 outs on balls hit over 95 miles an hour is still a lot, but a lot of those are just ground balls at people or opposite way that are not dangerous. Gunnar Henderson has made 11 outs on the ideal contact, which it's not only pulled, but it's pulled and hit hard. So he's gotten super unlucky on, quality contact that's in the right angles too. Um, so I think that that's going to change. I think that there'll be a sweet spot of finding Gunnar Henderson, and we could see somewhat close to the 2024, despite the underlying metrics not really inspiring much hope. This is more, okay, I believe Gunnar Henderson is going to get back on track and figure it out. And with that heater will come the underlying metrics, even though that's kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's encouraging signs here, and those some good notes on him getting robbed. I mean, what if 9 of those drop for hits, we're probably looking at like 20 points of batting average, if not more, at this stage of the season. Uh, I guess what concerns me the most is the strikeout rate, floating around like 30%. That's
Yeah.
I guess, when you look at the whiff rate, it's kind of in line with where he's always been, but he used to have a pretty good chase rate, and he's chasing a lot right now, which is pretty common. And it's
It's pressing.
guys
That
pressing,
is
trying to
that
get
not
out of
pressing, right?
totally.
That's what
Yeah.
that is to me.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's just if, it feels Tatis-esque that it might take one strong week and he just kinda shakes, the funk altogether, so, yeah, I like it for Gunner, and again, just 24 years old, like, we know this guy's a stud, and the fact that power speed is there, have we ever really questioned the hit tool at least being, like, 260? So I think better days are ahead for, Gunner Henderson managers. Okay, so maybe the one that we should have let off with because Cal Raleigh, which that it feels weird to say credit to you, Steve, on
Yeah, you
the
hate being
chalkboard.
right
You know, yeah, right
on
on
the
the
negative
fade.
ones. Yeah.
But yeah, and we do have to mention that one of the lifelong biggest waffle listeners, TJ, he had Cal Raleigh as a 5th round keeper this year. So he's pulling his hair out because we're looking at a 165 batting average, a 570 OPS after last year. That was historic by all accounts from a catcher, really from a hitter in general. And yeah, what we're seeing from Cal Raleigh is another case to me of, do we really think he just can't hit a fastball? So last year, a 594 slug, a huge amount of the 60 plus homers last year were off of the fastball. This year, the slug has dropped from almost 600 down to 232. He's another one like Gunnar who is chasing a lot more, clearly pressing. Um, and the kind of crappy combination with that is not only is he chasing more, but his chase contact rate has really gone up. So I think it's like he's kind of burning at
Yeah.
bats with these
Yeah.
not having the right swing selection. So it all just seems like it's compounding. He definitely has proven in the past that when he gets on a roll, he will just rattle off some of those 10 homer months. I think he's sitting at 7 homers now. I still think we're probably looking at a 30 plus homer season, but kind of as you had said at the start of the season, Steve, you wouldn't be shocked if it landed around the 220 batting average. And, he'd have to do some work just to get the 163 up there. But thoughts on Cal Raleigh? I mean, I knew where you're at coming into the season, but do you think that there's a good buy low opportunity here, given how dismal it's been at a position that's been a little bit better overall this season?
Yeah, I see no reason why he's not gonna be what he was in 2024, and that's kind of why he was a fade for me. Um, the strikeouts are a big part of his game, and it's prone to months like this, and it's gonna look really bad. That said, like, the barrel rate's still there, the bat speed's still there. Yeah, it's slightly down, but nothing that I don't think will prevent him from being a 30 homer hitter. The 7 is fine. It's not great, especially when you pair it with how poorly all the other statistics are going for him. And the walk rate's down. I mean, that will come in tandem with, chasing and pressing and not waiting for pitches and things like that, and pitchers not being scared of a 60 homer hitter, right? And pitching around him as much as they did last year.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, like I think you have a chance to buy Cal Raleigh for what his truer talent is, and that is a low average, high homer, um, guy who's the Mariners are a good offense overall. I know, it's not the scariest or something like the Braves or anything like that, but they do have good hitters. Julio Rodriguez is off to the best start of his career. Randy Rosarina is still being underrated by me and seemingly everybody else. Josh Naylor's heating up, so I think there is this is probably more of a name value one, as with Henderson and Tatis maybe, but yeah, I don't see why. Like if the like if Cal Raleigh had if this year came after his 2024, he would be on the wire right now.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure.
He was to he was a pickup in a lot of leagues last year. He was a pickup the year before because he was, hey, this is a guy that just gets hot for a few weeks and then you can kind of move on from him because he's going to hit 200 with no homers for
Mhm.
4 weeks, and that's kind of what happened. And I think it'll go the other way soon, and he'll have a 10 homer month where he hits 250, 260, and it'll look great. But
Yeah,
um,
honestly, I think that's gonna be the next test because, I mean, you have to imagine there's some actual player development, like, even if we're gonna call it, a 160 game hot stretch
y-
last
yeah,
year,
that's what it was. Yeah,
there's gotta be, even from a confidence standpoint, a level up, an evolution of a player to where when he gets on his next hot streak, I'll be curious, like, does he go nuclear? Does it last longer? Is
yeah.
the low not as low? Or are we at a spot where, like, straight up, we're just saying Shea Langoliers is like a better player than Cal Raleigh because he has the same kind of level of pop, but he doesn't have as much swing and miss. It's like, like, what do you think about I know you're not a fan of, like, challenge trades, but even aside from that, it's like, is that where you're at with Raleigh after the first month, or do you think that when he gets right, we could still see kind of Herculean production, outlier production at the position?
Um, I mean, if I'd rather have um
Langoliers straight up.
Langoliers. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Um,
But I
I
guess
would have.
Langoliers is like, steady production. Like Cal Raleigh, do you think he's got a 12 homer, month in him? Like, the
Yeah, I
crazy
could see
production?
that. I could see that. I mean, he's sort of done that in years past, even outside of 2025, right? I mean, he was a 30 homer hitter. To do that, you need to have those sort of months, and I think it will come for him. I don't think it'll be anything close to last year, if that's sort of the question. Maybe it'll be a few week
That
heater version of that.
okay,
But like
that
you
is the
said at the
question, though,
start,
because it's so
he was on a 160 game hot streak last year. That's exactly what it
so
was.
that's where you land. Okay, see, I'm still interested, and I know we were in different spots at, like, all through 2024, which is what we're kinda saying, like, that feels like the most likely outcome for Cal Raleigh. His hottest month was 9 homers in July.
Okay.
In 2025, he had a 12 homer month, a 11 homer month, a 10 homer month. So what I'm
He had
curious
3
about
of
is
those. I think he'll have 1 of those, you know?
okay, yeah, that's my question is
Yeah.
when he gets hot, are we gonna see it at kind of like the Judge level for catcher, or do we think it's just gonna get lost in the mix of kind of those, dare I say the Mike Zunino, but like we know those catchers that,
Yeah.
they get hot and they can have a 7 homer, 8 homer month. I mean, even random ones over the years have done that. So I do think it's above that. I feel like you probably do as well, but you're saying it might just be peaks and valleys for
Yeah.
Raleigh. Okay, so yeah, in general though, people are probably looking at moving Cal Raleigh because they're extremely frustrated. So there is an opportunity there. We got more, and one I just made a trade offer for tonight, Steve. But we're going to take our first ad break, and we'll be right back after this. Okay, so Ketel Marte, that's a another WAF name for that Steve and I are usually on opposite sides of the fence because I'm a big Ketel believer, and I've got him several shares, and it's been rough going early on for Ketel, but maybe not to the extent of some of the names we've mentioned so far. I mean, he does have 5 homers, but the 212 batting average for a guy that we've kind of viewed as I don't know, like a second base Jordan Alvarez, kind of bankable 275, if not 300. And that's been kind of worst aspect of his game. But the XBA is 287 under the hood. Uh, age 32, which is a little bit older than some of the names we've talked about so far as well. I still think that we're going to see Ketel Marte go on an absolute heater. I lobbed out a trade offer in my home league to try to acquire Ketel Marte. Um, different league settings and everything, but don't laugh. It's the red hot Mickey Moniak and pitching piece in there as well. So kind of a 2-for-1 for like I said, I'm in third, and my the guy is down in like 12th or 13th place. So it seems like one of those fits, but I think it would be a lucky get because that's a second rounder. But talk to me, Steve, about Ketel Marte, what your thoughts are here so far.
Yeah, John Anderson on Twitter just went through like the unluckiest hitters, just based on X stats, and Ketel Marte is the unluckiest hitter. He has a 345 X WOBA, and a 278 actual WOBA, 458 X slug, 364 X slug, a 287 XBA, 208 heading into today. Yeah, like some of the metrics look a little bit worse, right? Like he's chasing more, which is odd. He's whiffing more, which is odd. The walks are way down, but that's a sign of pressing to me. When the hits start falling, I think that'll turn. Sure, the barrel rate is down. That's a bit concerning, but again, it's still a small sample, and a few extra base hits here in a row would change that. The hard hit rate, the bat speed is a little bit down, but the hard hit rate's in line. Like this is a pretty clear buy low. It's probably the one that honestly I had the most confidence in so far, even more so than like Tatis, just because Tatis's struggles have been much longer than this. Um, Honestly, maybe even more than Gunnar Henderson,
Mm,
uh, for the same reason, right? Like I know Gunnar had the injury last year, but um, Ketel had the most recent elite fantasy season out of all those guys
yeah.
in what he did last year in his 556 plate appearances. So yeah, this is a big go get him for me, and probably the biggest one that we have so far on the show.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, maybe the only caveat with Cattell compared to those other guys is we talked at the start of the season that you kinda have to count on him missing 15, 20 games, and he
Yeah,
has yet to do that this season. I know it's not like a certainty, but you gotta go all the way back to, I guess in 2023, he had 150 games, but for the most part, he kind of you account for a couple IL stints, so that's factored in a little
yeah,
bit, but I think that the hit tool will climb. I mean, he could have a couple 3 for 5 nights, and this is still early enough. I know we're at 156 ABs, but this could climb up in a hurry. We've seen it with a lot of guys in the past, like Freddie Freeman comes to mind, like guys that are out and out hit tool guys who struggle. And then by the end of the season, it always lands in a respectable zone. It just might be more like 275 this year instead of
yeah,
like 300.
yeah.
So, yeah, I think enough said on that. I think Ketel Marte is a great target. The next little two pack here is kind of the injury paired with some underlying metrics that should be looking better on the surface. Roman Anthony and Ronald Acuña Jr. Anthony, I think we're waiting until there's like a wrist injury. It's a little vague on his timetable to return. It sounds like they're trying to figure out how soon he gets his grip strength back on the bat. And then as soon as that's back, it should move pretty quickly. But I would guess probably another week and a half, 2 weeks. And then in terms of the stats for Roman Anthony, yeah, it's another one that the fastball damage is what we're hoping continues from last year. So his batting average on the season this year is 229. That's coming off of the 292 that we saw last year. Tons of excitement coming in with Roman Anthony, and underlying stuff looks still pretty good. I mean, the
Hmm.
bat speed is still elite. The plate discipline in terms of like chase rate, pitch selection, walk rate is really good. Um, I mean, I feel like he's still an out and out target and a
Yeah,
stud at just age 22, right, Steve?
yeah. Um, I think that it's just a little bit concerning that he hasn't swung a bat yet, and a wrist injury. I think it. I don't know if it's wrist or finger, or like maybe it's on the pinky that's like connect. I don't know, but it's it's close. It would be a clear buy for me if he was even just if he was swinging a bat, it would be clear by to me. The fact that that came out today that he isn't swinging a bat yet is what's a little bit concerning because everything else was there as far as the average exit velocity, the barrel rate's a little bit down, but again, like that stuff still can change pretty quickly. It's not like he's not hitting the ball hard. The bat speed's there. I still love Roman Anthony short and long term. It's just a shame that he did have this injury, and it's a little bit concerning because that's an injury that you can it's not like the person we'll talk about next. Acuna. It's like okay, it's a hamstring. Like okay, once that's healed, like he's gonna be able to swing and like he's still hitting and like there was reports of him taking batting practice and mashing the ball. Like Anthony can't do that yet. So that's a little bit concerning, but going back to that fastball stat, like he has a 628 X slug versus fastballs and a 429 actual. So like he should be he is crushing fastballs. He's just not getting the results on it.
Sure.
The X batting average on fastballs is the same as it was last year. Um, he has a 305 X batting average against fastballs and a 273 batting average against fastballs in 2026. In 2025, he had a 305 XBA against fastballs and batted 341.
Hmm.
So, it's just been unlucky on that. So, like, that tells me that he's still on, and it was just, a matter of time. I just hope that he starts swinging soon and we get some update in a positive fashion because like he didn't go on the IL at first at all, right? That's always concerning. Like the
The
the next thing you see,
gradual.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, the Jackson Churio thing, like, well, there was a fracture there,
Hmm.
I'm hoping that that's not the case, but we'll see with Roman Anthony. Otherwise, it's super encouraging, and I would be all over it. It's just that's a little bit concerning there.
Yeah, and then you got Acuña on the other side here, who should be back probably some point next week. He's been out with the hamstring. Uh, I feel like Acuña has been kind of a death sentence for a lot of teams that invested early. It's like when your first rounder is
Yep,
hitting
that's my
250
first
with
rounder.
2
That's my
homers.
first
Yeah, I
rounder.
mean, dead last in our league is the Acuna manager as well. I got him in TGFBI. It just feels like every hitting category, I'm like at the bottom. Um,
Yeah.
but when we look at Acuna collectively, he's another one that was just kind of soaring up the draft board just because everybody was looking at the upside and that he could be a top 4 guy. All the talks about steals, and he's stolen 7 bags so far, so that part has been encouraging. It's just the 2 homers, the 378 slug, super disappointing after a 518 slug last year. All that to be said, the bat speed is still, very good. The barrel rate is not very good so far, but it's still above league average, just not at Acuna heights. Um, what do you think, Steve? Is it, like, some of the hard hit data is down?
Yeah.
Is it enough to read into and care about, or are we just saying, like, Acuna will be himself once he gets back and we just get more of a sample size?
Yeah, I think this was more of a matter of time, and it's just unfortunate that the hamstring injury happened when it happened. Um, there's still a lot to like under the hood. Like it's still a 267 XBA, it's still a 485 X slug, which is almost like disappointing for him. It's still 83rd percentile in the league. The barrel rate is still at 12%. That's 77 percentile.
Mhm.
Again, like a little bit disappointing for him. The K rate is better than what it was last year, which is nice. It's the best that it's been since that MVP year in 2023. So that's encouraging. He's still walking. The X slug versus fastballs is still just 333 versus the actual 167. Um, so that's a little strange, but there are a lot of other things he's doing well. Like the damage rate is 97 percentile. The Seager, so being selectively aggressive, swinging at pitches that you can hit and not chasing, is 97 percentile. And then the speed too. He's 97 second percentile on takeoff rate, which he was not close to that last year. So yeah, I think he's been caught 4 times too. So that's unfortunate. And a hamstring injury, maybe that does suffer. But if that means that,
Mhm.
like I think you sort of take what he did last year in the 412 plate appearances, the 21 homers, the 9 steals, 290. Like I think that's coming based on the underlying metrics and just sort of the process that was still there despite the middling results and a little bit concerning like exit velocity, but I think it's kind of been like he's making contact with stuff that he isn't making that didn't make contact with and can't do damage with, and I think that'll turn around. I don't think it's as big as like a fix as even like Gunner or Tatis for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, I go back to the year I was frustrated and rostered him in 2022, where he
Hmm.
missed some time. His underlying metrics look somewhat similar to this, but he had 119 games, 15 homers, 29 steals, 266 average. Are you taking the over on all of those in terms of speed, power, average? You still think when he's back, he's gonna climb up, or do you think there's a risk we do see kind of like a homer total in the teens and a batting average below
Yeah.
280?
I mean, most of the projections got him at like 17 to 20 homers, rest of the way with, 20 steals. I think I would probably take the over on homers and under on steals if that were the case.
Okay, yeah, with the hamstring.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, all in all, it probably will look back as a disappointing year for Acuña, but with that said, I mean, how do you make sense of, because Acuña is obviously gonna take a lot more than some of the other names we've talked about, you would see or you would think.
Yeah.
Where do you prioritize him versus, like, Gunnar, Ketel, like, are you
I think he would
aggressively chasing?
I think he would be the first, right? I still think he has the highest upside out of all these
Oh,
guys.
for sure, but you'd have to give up I think you'd have to give up more, so that's kind of what I'm
Yeah, he
asking
is on the IL though, right? Like
That's
that's,
true.
and most likely that team is in last place or closer to the bottom. Um, so
That's true, so there might be an opportunity.
yeah, there might be an opportunity. I'm not saying you can get him for free, but um, they're it's probably the cheapest that you could trade for Acuna in the last 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Okay. Well, we got a handful of kind of excess names here that just have some interesting batted ball data, things under the hood to look at. But we're going to take our second ad break and we'll be right back after this. Okay, so Steve still up in the early rounds of the draft. That's kind of name of the game for the show. But Pete Crow-Armstrong, one of the more polarizing names all throughout the offseason after he had kind of the crazy 30-30 season last year, but definitely the tale of two seasons with the first half, second half stuff. And then fast forward to this year, not a ton of joy with just the 236 average, 675 OPS. He's another one who's making up for it a little bit on the base paths with 10 steals. He has 4 homers as well, and he's a tricky one to look at the traditional batted ball data for because he's kind of never
Yeah.
lit up the page, right? So when we look at it this year, I think what jumps out at me is that it's just an 8% barrel rate when that was one thing last year with 13%, that was well above league average, and now it's just looking pretty run of the mill. He's never been one for good plate discipline, and that's the case this year. The strikeout rate is up as well. Is this a blind faith bet on the talent guy? The other really concerning thing is just the pull air, which is where he's getting so much of his profit last year
Mhm.
with a 30% pull air rate, almost like double league average, has now fallen to pretty much league average. So for a guy that's not a huge physique, doesn't have loads of like raw power, starting to wonder if PCA is kind of in bust territory for the whole season outlook. But oh, talk me off the ledge on that. What do you think? There's a buy low window here?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's some squinting you can do. Um, he is hitting the ball harder than last year. That's a good thing. His bat speed is up, also a good thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, the launch angle sweet spot and
Thus
the
the
barrel
barrel
rate
rate. Yep.
is
Yeah.
down. That's concerning. That said, like I still think that there is a 20 homer guy here. Um, and he could hit 15 the rest of the way, especially when Wrigley gets warmer, winds start blowing out. Um, I don't have Peaker Armstrong shares this year. I was not, buying into the 30-30 season that he had last year and saw the second half fade. That said, I think there is still some things that are good here. The whiff percentage is down a little bit. The walk rate is up a little bit. That's all good, and it's still not great, but it's better than what he was last year. And I think that there is some room for improvement, and some potential that he can get back to into a groove and start pulling those fly balls and have a 5 to 6 homer month and provide some value because I think people definitely are frustrated with him, and he's still running. He's got 10 steals already too, which is nice.
Yeah, that kinda is the upside or the sunny outlook to him batting at the bottom of the order because it's like 8th or ninth in that order, but usually when he gets on, they're letting him run, which is nice, um, but yeah, top of the order is Nico Horner, then Ballesteros and
Yeah,
Bregman, so
he's down there. He is down there in the
so
lineup.
that's not great. I think of the ones we've talked about, and I know this is coming from a Cardinals fan, but also a manager that really values
Sure,
kind of the plate discipline historically. That this one that just gives me
the most
uh,
pause. That's
the
fair.
most pause for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, shifting over, talk about Trent Grisham, who has just been like last year. We saw a crazy power output season from him this year, we're seeing a 175 average. He's never been like a hit tool guy, but far below the Mendoza line. It's troubling. By the same token, the plate discipline has looked a lot better. So, do you think he's just getting unlucky here because some of the pop from last year looks legit and looks like it should be here? He has 6 homers, which isn't nothing, but still just like the 311 OBP is holding down the OPS, and I guess for Grisham believers, what do we make of this early start? And do you think that this is like a shallow league ad and that things will turn around, or where are we at with Grisham?
I think that he looks extremely similar, um, from a quality contact perspective, uh, to last year. Um, so with that, I think that better days are coming, and there's going to be a decent homer output here for him. Sure, it's going to be with a low average, but I think he'll finish close to 220 with 25 homers. So that's, he's at 175 now with 6 homers. Like, I think that's sort of who Trent Grisham is, and there's not much different, from a profile perspective, other than the fact that he's striking out a lot less and swinging and missing a lot less. So, like,
Yeah,
that's an
that's nice.
improvement. And it's
He's
come with a little bit of an expense of bat speed, but the hard hit rate is still elite. The barrel rate is still really good. Like,
the one thing I would point to, which is a little bit of I guess just minute timing stuff is for a lefty in Yankee Stadium, you want all the pulls you can get,
sure, okay,
and his pull rate last year was at like a career high of
yep.
48%. This year it's 41%. So yeah, you would
So,
like
I
to
mean, the
see.
pull air though, it was 24% last year. It's at 19% this year. So it's not elite like it was last year, but it's still pretty good. Like, he's doing it enough that he should have
Yeah,
25 homers pretty
doesn't look like
easily.
a whole different
Yeah,
player, right?
yeah.
And last year he it,
It's not
it
like Tatis where he
netted.
doesn't have a pull fly ball. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Okay, so Trent Grisham, and then Bo Bichette was another one mentioned in that article, Steve. If you want to talk about Bichette, I know he was super popular, another riser in March, and it's looked like those doldrum years for Bichette where we were wondering, like, is he gonna come out of the funk? Just 2 homers, 1 steal. Those are bad, but really what we were signing up for was like a bona fide hit tool, especially when he was like slated to bat cleanup. It's just been tough, tough days for the Mets. Maybe that'll be turning around with some of the call ups and everything, but just a 224 batting average for Bo Bichette. Our better days ahead. Is this a buy low? I think this one would be a pretty easy get.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's probably going to be dropped and leaves because it's just been that bad. But I mean, there's still a 285 XBA behind it. The average X velocity is good. The barrel rate isn't as good as it was last year, and it's never been great. But there's still Bo Bichette things in this profile that he's doing well. He's not striking out that much. He's not swinging and missing much. He's squaring up balls. Hitting the balls hard enough. Like, there is a much better player than, like, I don't think this is 2024 Bo Bichette where he hit 225 with 4 home runs for the entire year. I think this is closer to 2023. I would expect 15 homers, 280, and a decent counting stats the rest of the way. Um, where he's at right now is a 560 OPS with a 224 average. Like he's not doing the thing that you want him to do well, and I think that will come based on the things that Bo Bichette does well.
Mhm.
I would not expect 20 homers, but I would expect
Same.
15. I would expect 280. Like that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe in the batting average. I'm with you that, again, his pull air went from, uh, okay to really bad. Also,
Yeah,
I feel like the pressing theory, like, works double in New York, so I think that might be,
absolutely.
a factor a little bit, and the good news is he's still batting at the top of that order,
And there's
um,
no, it's not going to change soon, right? Like,
unless AJ Ewing, I mean, he is,
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of like
maybe.
Bo Bichette,
Yeah.
you know, what they're
2.0.
hoping he can be the
Yeah,
2.0,
yeah.
right? But, yeah, I think Bichette is still I would still be very interested, especially with him hitting up there in the order, and I'm with you. I think, like, 280, 17 homers, which still wish I mean, Bichette no longer being, like, a speed threat just really
Yeah.
hurts the profile. It's
Yeah,
like
if
he's
he
so
chipped in 20 bags, like he would still I mean, he would still be like
right.
he
There
would
was that
still be a
2021 year where
top
he
5, top 6 rounder if
oh
that
my
was the
gosh.
case, right? Even if he was a 20 homer guy because the hit tool's so good.
Yeah, isn't that nuts that
Yeah.
after he had 29 homers, 25 steals, hit 300, there was that year where he was, like, going
Yeah,
top
I think
top
like Gray and
5
Rasball ranked him as like the number 1 player for
overall.
that season. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's just, it's been a long 5 years, but yeah, still 28 years old. I think, he'll be fine. Last one I wanted to talk about is Corey Seager because this was the one that, I was able to claim off the waiver
It's
wire.
crazy, man.
Steve, I know that you will be, a little bitter on this one because you're just like, What is he doing?" And you're raw you've had to suffer through this, but it does not look like all hope is lost when you just look at a 16% barrel rate, 90th percentile. I, know the plate discipline is alarming, but unlike some of the guys we've talked about that it's like no homers or 2 or 3 homers, he does have 7 homers, um, and you gotta imagine he's just gonna be locked into the heart of the lineup. He's another guy who in if you kinda hit monthly splits over his last 4 or 5 years, he's no stranger to like a 200 month, and then on the other side of those, sometimes there's like 340 months. So, what do you think with Seager? Are you holding on, or if somebody sent you a trade, would you be like, I'm off the wagon here?"
Yeah, someone asked for him, not a formal offer. I mean, it's been like I mean, I guess part of the reason why my team is struggling is I have like 5 guys on this list, and I traded for one of them too. So I don't know. Maybe it's not the greatest idea. Like Seager, Acuña. I mean, Machado could have been on this list. He stinks. Um, traded for Tatis. So it's been a struggle. The concern about Seager is that there's always a looming injury, right? And
Yeah, that's
that
true
would
with you.
stink if something like I think he's played like all of his games so far, and
It
it's
feels
been a
I
struggle.
guess it's a bigger, version of the Ketel Marte factor.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
misses
for
more
sure, for
time.
sure. He
Yeah.
is much more injury prone um, than Marte, I would say. Yeah, there's a lot to like. It's just in the barrel rate and the hard hit and the fact that like he's still, I think like third in the league in the stat named after him in Seager and swinging at the pitches you want to swing at and not swinging at the pitches you don't want to swing at. But the swing and miss is just super concerning. A 27% strikeout rate, 6 percentile whiff percentage. Like, yeah, it wasn't great last year. He struck out 20% of the time. That was 58 percentile. The 27 percentile whiff percentage, that's gone like completely
Mhm.
down the drain. Like he is swinging and missing so much. In 2024, for reference, when he was like elite in his 533 plate appearances, hit 30 home runs. He had an 18% strikeout rate and only swung and missed 23.4% of the time at a 56 percentile rate. So,
His
yeah,
pull air rate is, closer to the
yeah, to
seasons where he
24,
had a
23.
you
Yeah.
know what I
So,
mean?
so I mean, that's why he's got the homers, but you gotta hope that there's something that's fixed with the swing and miss, and because the way he's getting BABIP'd and It's still not great. The XBA is 229 despite how hard he's hitting the ball, with the 60% barrel rate. That's not good. Like, he needs to start making more contacts, despite all those other things that he's doing well.
Yeah,
Um,
that is kinda surprising because the BABIP is 212, and, he's a career 312 BABIP, so is that, it's hard to make sense of, honestly.
yeah, yeah.
I guess I'm trying to look at, like, his actual I mean, he's hitting less line drives, fly balls are about in line,
Yeah, it's noisy, the line drive thing, so maybe that's
that's
just
true.
more of the reason to do it. Like,
I don't know,
pop
man.
ups are the highest that they've been since 2019.
Okay,
Um,
so that's
yeah, he's pulling the ball a lot more,
I just
which
don't
you
think
would
it
think
should
is a
look
good thing.
it shouldn't look
But
this
it's
bad, I
pull
guess.
ground balls are death sentences,
Yeah,
right? It's the highest pull ground ball of his career. So, um, that could be
mhm.
because a pull ground ball is, for a lefty, it's like roll over the second base. And boy, have I seen Kyle Seager roll over the second base a lot this year. That or strike out.
Yeah, yep, and the worst, swing and miss stuff, like you said, of his career, so,
Yeah.
yeah, so are you gonna hold with confidence, though, Steve?
Yeah, unless someone's, you know, I need to take a break from trade, so I'm just like, this is my team. I've
It's your team for now,
Yeah,
okay.
like
Dance with the
I
one that
traded for Brent Rooker, Seiya Suzuki, Tatis, uh, Chase Burns. Like, it's been a complete haul over, and the last few days since I've done that, my team still stinks. So yeah, it's just probably not my year in this league. But we'll see. Hopefully these guys bounce back. Hopefully they are about buy lows.
Yeah, hey, and, it's also, it's week 8, so we're not even
Yeah,
at the halfway mark, you
yeah.
can still turn
Quarter.
it
We're at
around.
the quarter mark. We're at the quarter
Quarter
mark.
mark, there you go. Okay, well, that rounds out the show. Hopefully, you guys, have plenty of players that are high, and you're in a spot where you can buy low, but, thank you guys for joining us. Again, it's been, patchy over the last few weeks for me especially, but excited to be back on a, week-to-week basis here, and, feel free to reach out as always if you guys have any, topics, players, anything you guys want us to cover. Otherwise, that'll do it for episode 213 with Steve Gesuele. I'm Van Burnett. That's episode 213 by Lowe's. Thanks for talking baseball with us.
Thanks, guys. Later.